Jen, how long have you been with Amley?
I started with Amley in 1990, which is roughly 26 years ago.
Wow. What was your first job with Amley?
Technically, my title was project assistant, which was kind of a gopher of sorts. I answered the phones at the reception for relief. I did the dishes, I sorted the mail, and did kind of just special little projects around anything anyone needed.
How did you get to where you're at today?
Well, shortly after I started, Greg once needed a new assistant, and so he asked me if I would be his assistant, and I kind of said, well, I'm not very good at typing, I don't know how to do shorthand, willing to give it a shot, but I don't think this is going to go well. So he said, well, just try it for a short time, and then maybe you can go into acquisitions. So I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I worked for Greg and Alan and John Allen and Steve Ross as their assistant, but mostly for Greg. I learned everything from him. He took a lot of time with me and taught me. So after acquisitions, or during acquisitions, is when we started talking about going public. And that's kind of around the same time that Amley was branded, and we went through and had a lot of strategy meetings with Greg about what we were going to call Amley. And you should just be happy that you're not working for a company where all of our properties are named Ginkgo Tree or Stone something, or what were the other ones, Vinings or whatever. We came up with Amley, and that's where kind of the Amley brand came from. It was really fun to be part of all those meetings. And then we went public, so I worked on the IPO. Gosh, it was probably a year of my life, working 24/7, 7 days a week, crunching numbers, running numbers, trying to make it all happen, working with all the same players, going to New York with Greg and Phil and John Allen and Steve and Phil for meetings. It was really an exciting time. I don't know that I could be a person who worked on Wall Street and took companies public all the time. It's very stressful, but it was a lot of fun. One of my most memorable moments was being promoted to vice president during the time of the IPO. Greg came running down to my office and asked me if I wanted to be vice president of asset management. I wasn't really in asset management. I thought I was in acquisitions, but I said sure. And I said, but do I get a raise? And he said no, and I told him I would take it anyway, and that was the end of that one. Okay. So after we went public, we started developing again. In Atlanta and Texas mostly to start with. So I ran all the financial analysis for our new developments. I wasn't working actually doing construction yet and overseeing development yet, but I worked in development. At that point, when things were kind of happening in Atlanta, Phil Tegg asked me to move to Atlanta. And at the time, I'd been dating this guy for about a year or so, and I thought it might be a good thing. And I actually later ended up marrying him about 9 years later, decided to make it official. So I didn't move to Atlanta, so I'm still here. But went on to develop, and so Steve Ross and I paired up, and we became the Chicago Development Group, and we have developed 10 properties together, starting with Amley at Aurora Crossing, which you may know as Amley Fox Valley, all the way through to our most recent project, Amley Deerfield.